never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi guys, welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today is a fantastic day because I've got Allie with me. Allie is a woman to my heart, a woman who is living her life to the fullest, and she is using every trick under the book. And what we are talking is holistic, functional medicine. We are talking looking at the body not just through the lens of nutrition or the lens of exercise. Often enough, we can get so nicely pigeonholed and think about, one little thing. Oh, if I just do one more repetition, that's it. My life will never be the same again. Yeah, about that. So Allie is here. She knows what we're talking about when it comes to repetitions because she is a former pro bodybuilder or bodybuilder pro. I don't know which way around it goes best. I heard it both ways. She is a woman who has been out there and has looked after her body, and then something happened. And nowadays she's a different woman, and I want to know why. So welcome, Allie. Welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
How did you become a bodybuilder? Was that always something that you loved? Were you always, as an 8-year-old, you wouldn't think, I'm going to be a pro bodybuilder. How did that go?
If you would have asked me that question probably 6 to 9 months prior to competing in my first show, I would have said, I have no desire to be a bodybuilder. That sounds awful. But how it really started for me is I grew up an athlete. So physical fitness, exercise, and having a goal that I was constantly working toward was always a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Long story short, I went to college. I played basketball. I decided after a few months that it was no longer for me. And I pivoted, transitioned, and just became a normal college student. Fast forward 3 years, my mother was diagnosed with stage 3 brain cancer and given about 18 months to live. I became one of her primary caregivers, and unfortunately, she only made it for about 9 months. After she passed, I found myself both in a place where I was very mentally and emotionally down, and I had a lot of anger and a lot of grief. And through that process, I started asking why. Why does this happen to someone? What makes a person healthy? I wasn't getting any answers from her doctors. I wasn't getting anything from our Western medical community. And I knew there had to be a reason. So I started digging, I started doing my own research, and I really fell into this passion of health, nutrition, fitness, stress management, all of these things. Also, simultaneously, while this is happening, my health is really starting to decline. I was only 22 at the time. I was the heaviest I'd ever been. I was so tired all the time. I was depressed. And I knew that if I had to wake up another day feeling like that, I really did not know if I wanted to continue to go through life like that, as bad as that sounds. I love life and I want to talk more about that, but I knew in that moment that I needed help and I needed to change. And so I hired my first health and fitness coach, and she actually specialized in helping women prep for bodybuilding competitions. I didn't know that at the time because I didn't know anything about the sport, but I really liked her. I really connected with her. And I thought, you know what? I think she's going to be the one that gets me out of this funk. And once she presented the idea of competing, I was like, absolutely not. That sounds terrifying. That's horrible. But I realized in that moment that I was terrified to stand on stage in front of judges and people, especially with where I was at that point in my life. And I wanted to lean into that fear as opposed to let it dictate, how I was going to show up, what I was going to do or not do. And so I said, you know what? Fine, I'll do one show and I will just work my butt off literally for 4 months to get there. And it actually ended up being a really positive experience for me at that point in my life.
You're working your butt on in this case. Your butt is getting better than not
off. It was. But
yes. Mind you, the outside comes off and then a new butt appears, actually.
Exactly.
Oh, amazing. Yes. You often get, though, the feeling when you look at professional female bodybuilders, oh boy, there are some beautiful men there. So it is, and please let's do not go today into any kind of cis trans whatever, non-binary. We are talking now really. I mean no offense to anyone out there. Can we get it out of the way? So I'm a man. I happen to have a woman on my show. Please please don't come back to me and give me grief with that. I don't mean it in any negative way for that. And when I say there are some beautiful men out there, I want to make a joke to say that some women, when they go for the real physique, real harsh physique, there is no stopping them. And so for you, what was that like? You identify as a woman. How do you see yourself when it comes to 6-7% body fat? You see every muscle. Is that a beautiful picture for you, or was that was certainly a new picture for you and of you? How did you deal with that?
That's a great question. So I actually competed in bikini, which is a little less intense from a physique perspective. So I wasn't quite as muscular and quite as low body fat as some of the true physique or wellness competitors out there. But it was interesting because for me, I've gotten this question before, so I love this. When I think of beauty and what's beautiful in relationship to myself and how I feel, for me, it's more about how I'm feeling. So when I stepped onto that stage, the first time, I was like, wow, like just the transformation in my physique, in the aesthetic, and what my body looks like was amazing. And yes, I felt very confident, especially given where I had come from, being my heaviest. And it wasn't so much that I thought I looked bad. I didn't like the way that I looked, but I knew the habits and the things that I was doing to my body that got me to that place. And those things are what didn't feel good. So when I was looking at myself in my photos and in the mirror, what I saw, I thought was beautiful, but not necessarily because, I had muscles or because I was toned or ripped. It was because I knew all of the work that it took that I put in the time. Like you can't buy that. And so I was just very proud. I felt strong. I felt disciplined. And for me, because I did grow up as an athlete, those things are things that I very much value, and I value them in myself. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Beautifully said. And what a beautiful, shall I say that? You didn't go for the aesthetics. Yes, it wasn't really the journey. It was really the achievements. It was really the transformation that
100%.
put that smile on your face. Not I finally look like that. So it had actually not so much to do with the looks. It had so much more to do with you developing the habits and
100%.
which is beautiful.
Yep. The funny thing about that, though, is the first show that I did 2 fitness shows. My second show, I won my pro card. That's when I turned to a professional. The first show for me was really about having a goal and just shutting out all of the anger and the grief and the sadness that I felt after I lost my mom. I needed something to direct my attention to, and that's what it was. And so that was something that I was so proud of. The second show was more about like, okay, let's maybe go for a chance at getting that pro card. Let's take it to the next level. And I really enjoyed the process. It was so much fun. It was such a great show. But that's when my focus started turning more to the aesthetic, because I knew that's what it would take. And that's when my mindset started to shift around it. So I do think that, when we do overemphasize that end goal and not necessarily what we're cultivating along the journey of that, that's when it can start to become unhealthy, or, we can start to have that dysmorphia when we look in the mirror and things like that. And I tell my clients this all the time. It doesn't matter if you want to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. If you want to look like a fitness model, awesome. That's fine. We'll get you there. But the gold in reaching that goal and achieving what you're looking to achieve is not about actually getting to that goal. It's about who you become in the process.
Beautiful. Well, that's exactly it, isn't it? And it is that transformation that puts a smile on your face, that actually takes you away from the victim role. The victim is passive. The survivor starts to do something. So at least here with you going into that no, I will do something about that. That makes you the survivor. When then the smile comes onto your face, and you start growing on the inside, then that is the post-traumatic growth, and that is the thriver. And so you actually transcended all that, and now are the woman who says, that was cool. Let's do that again. Or let's maintain the journey, because the
Mhm.
journey never ends, does it?
Right. It never ends.
And it's an amazing journey. So that's brilliant. So your first coach basically helped you to develop the habits that were leading you to success. May I ask what were some of the first habits that she emphasized?
Yeah, absolutely. She helped me really clean up my nutrition. And
Mm,
so
mm,
she helped me focus on, primarily whole unprocessed food. She had me eating obviously in a quantity that was going to be sufficient for reaching my goal. But for me, it was like getting rid of the alcohol, getting rid of I'm from Texas originally. We love our Tex-Mex. So a lot of chips, a lot of queso, a lot of margaritas. It was about, getting rid of that. And in the process, I actually discovered that there are certain foods that I am sensitive to. I don't have food allergies, but there are definitely foods that trigger me. And to this day, I primarily keep those out of my diet because I would rather feel my best.
mm.
And so she helped me bring awareness to that. She helped give me the structure in order to make those shifts. She helped give me the structure and the framework to have a workout plan at the gym that was conducive for my goals, that gave me the tools. All I had to do was show up and do it. Now, that's also, for some people difficult, but I had no more excuses of, oh, I don't know what to do, or I'm just making stuff up as I go, or what if this works? Like, she handed all of that to me, and all I had to do was show up, put the work in, and trust the process, and trust that she knew what she was doing and she had my best interest, which she did. And she totally transformed that.
Beautiful, because that is exactly where often we end up in analysis paralysis, where you think, there's this diet, the keto, or the caveman, or oh my God, what shall I do? Now eat that. That's the strength of a coach, someone
Mhm.
who is by your side and is supporting you and taking the guesswork out of it. Love that, love that.
Yeah.
When it comes to the healthy nutrition, I love what you're saying there. You were not going into any kind of diet. You were talking about a food plan. You were talking
Mhm.
about not a short, limited kind of, I want to drop 10 kilogram and then put 12 back on. You were talking about, okay, how can I actually live the life to the fullest? Big
Exactly.
difference. And I love that. So, what was a typical meal for you? Or nowadays, what is a typical meal for you nowadays?
So I have a method that I teach clients to use, and I call it the bowl method or the metabolic makeover meal method, which is more closely tied to my actual program name. And what it is it's just teaching clients how to create meals that are including all of the macronutrients that they need. So it's beneficial for making sure we have a balanced diet. We're ensuring a variety of nutrients. And so a typical meal for me, I'll give you my breakfast this morning, which was actually amazing. I pre-cooked purple yams last night. So I had purple yam, avocado, eggs, half eggs, half egg whites kind of combined in one, with sauteed spinach and mushrooms. So I had my
Wow.
veggies, I had my protein, I had my fat, I had my carbohydrates. It was so colorful. It was so beautiful. I was like, I just want to stare at this bowl. And it felt so good. When I was done, I was like, I feel so satisfied, but
I
like,
know.
I would love to have more, but I'm not going to, because I feel good. But it
So
was so tasty.
beautiful. Exactly. You had all the macronutrients in there, plus
Exactly.
you have had all those phyto components. In other words, those things that really puts the color onto your plate, which are incredibly healthy. So
Mhm.
perfect. What you just described is the Mediterranean food plan. Some people call it Mediterranean diet. I hate the word
Mhm.
diet. Food plan is something that you can do your life long. Diet is something that after 3 weeks you think, one more kale and I vomit.
Exactly.
So I love that. That's exactly that. And interesting, if you guys were looking or listening carefully, there was not a single gluten molecule in there. There wasn't actually any dairy in there. So here you go. So the two main triggers that often are upsetting the our life without us knowing we're taken out there. Doesn't mean
I
to say,
actually am gluten-free and dairy-free. So
There you go. There
They
you
are
go.
triggers for me, yes.
Absolutely. And most people don't even know about. I mean, yes, if you're a celiac sufferer, you know that if you eat a piece of bread, you're gonna suffer literally with pain and diarrhea and so. But most of us are not like that. Most of us are, unfortunately, very sad. Sad referring to our mindset, but also to our standard American diet.
Mm-hmm.
And sad is actually a heap of shit. And when I say American diet, I could say standard New Zealand diet. Just that doesn't rhyme as well. It's exactly the same. It's basically a lot of processed food, and the ratio, for example, of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids is atrocious. Like omega-6 are the inflammatories, and omega-3 is the anti-inflammatories. Should be 1 to 1.5, thereabouts. And the typical diet that many people out there eat is 1 to 25. And that's the standard American diet. So guess what? You've got inflammation going nuts. Enough it's driven by the gluten and by the nutrition. And if you're constantly inflamed, your body doesn't behave the way it's supposed to be.
No.
A, you feel like shit. B, there's niggles and pains and everything is so just you changing your diet can make such a beautiful difference. And I love to hear that this is where your coach started you and where you start working with your people. So what is better? And that's a trick question, of course. What's better? Putting all your emphasis into exercise or all your emphasis in nutrition?
Ooh, neither. I
I love it.
I will say the caveat to that is I've had clients in the past that have a lot going on. They are, career women, they have kids, so they're taking care of a home. Maybe they're taking care of a sick parent. And in those types of situations, we might have to triage if we can't, kind of divide our focus amongst a couple of things. So we might just work on nutrition to start. We might just work on exercise, depending on what's feasible for them. But not regarding those situations, the question, so should we put more focus on exercise or nutrition? The reality is that just like your body is an integrated unit where everything is working together, everything in our lives are operating the same way. So you can have the best workout plan ever, but if you're eating that standard American diet, or if you're chronically stressed out, you're sleeping 5 hours a night because you're staying up late watching TV or on social media or whatever it is, you're binge drinking on the weekends or, going out with friends, there's going to be very little that we're going to be able to do with just exercise or, subsequently with nutrition, same thing. If we're not managing those lifestyle factors, we're not managing our stress, we're not looking at you as an entire individual and your entire life, we're not going to get as far as we could. A lot of people, I think, miss those lifestyle factors, or they either don't think that they are playing into what's manifesting for them physically as much as they are, or, I oftentimes get this on intake forms where I'll see, someone will tell me when I have an initial consult with them a little bit about their lifestyle, about their nutrition. And when I really start digging into the actual data during the intake process, I'm like, I think we're like, underreporting some of these things. We're like, yeah, I went out last weekend, but it was no big deal. I only had, 8 drinks, and then I went to brunch the next day, and I had like biscuits and gravy and mimosas and all these things. I'm like, okay, well, if we do that every weekend, that it really is impactful. And so I think people don't look at that. And another thing that people often overlook or choose not to look at is how their emotional state, their mental state, and what's going on in their life, whether it's in their relationships, their career, how all of that compounds and affects them on a physiological level as well. So in an ideal world, we would look at all of these things, but depending on the person, sometimes we just have to start with one.
You're so right. You're so right. And I love it the way you've answered that question. There is, if people actually ask the real question, what is more effective or more impactful on my weight? Should I run like mad, or shall I eat better? There was a nice test, so to speak, what one athlete did on the internet, and he tried to do 10,000 calories of exercise and then eat 10,000 calories. And he was wondering, is it possible that you eat 10,000 calories in a day? And is it possible to do to combat that with the exercise, to 10,000 calories worth of exercise? this boy was, I mean, we're talking endurance athlete. He was
Mhm.
basically training for, tried training for 24 hours. And after about 8 hours, he was knackered, absolutely knackered. And he had just burned about 4,000 calories, 5,000 calories, something like that. To eat 10,000 calories over the day, easy. Give me a few pizzas, have a bit of cheese on this and a bit of drink with that. By the time you've blinked, you know, a bottle of wine, that's 800, 900,000 calories,
Oh,
depending
yeah.
on what you drink. And who has one bottle of wine? Come on, if you go out with your mates, come on. So there you go. That's 2,000 calories. Bingo. So, okay. So it is, everything plays a role. And
Mhm.
it's nothing you can be taken out. We often want a quick fix. We want to have the one answer. If I just take that one capsule of that nutrient, that will make me so healthy. And it's just, oh, for fuck's sake, really. We are a huge, huge system. We are like the world, and you're trying to do something in little Texas and expect China to completely change its way. Doesn't work like that. So, okay. So if we now accept nutrition is good, we need to deal with that, and we need some exercise. Maybe not become a pro bodybuilder, but you know, have
Right.
your 30 minutes a day or something like that. Okay, let's
Mhm.
take that for granted. You can create plans for that. How do you create a plan for happiness?
Ooh,
Ooh. What
that's
about
a
this
great
holistic?
question.
What about this holistic kind of thing? I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah. So in my intake process, people go through my process and they think I'm just going to ask them about their diet. I'm just going to ask them about exercise or health history. Literally, I have a whole section at the end of my intake form that asks people about their thoughts and their perceptions. It asks explicitly, what do you see when you look in the mirror? Good, bad, indifferent? What are some of the thoughts that you think about yourself? You know, I ask my clients to rate their area of satisfaction in different areas of their lives. That could be financial, that could be spiritual, that could be their social life. I ask them, you know, what is something that you used to do, you know, maybe as a little kid or earlier in life that absolutely brings you joy that you no longer either get to do or you don't make time to do because, you know, our quote unquote adult responsibilities. So I ask them all of these things, and I get a pretty good metric based on that intake form and my initial conversation with them on, you know, what is it that they really feel about themselves and their lives? You know, do they seem happy? Do they feel fulfilled? Are they really just needing that extra support with nutrition and exercise? Or is this someone who has a ton of work stress? You know, maybe they've had some traumatic events in life, like many of us have, and I can tell in their language, their verbiage, the way they carry themselves, that is still present. I mean, I've referred clients to therapy before many times because I know that what is holding them back is a lot deeper than just their nutrition, just their exercise. So I typically try to kind of tailor something to a client based on where I think they're at and what I think is going to be, you know, the biggest needle mover at first. Sometimes that's scheduling an hour a week to actually do something that brings them joy. And I put that on their plan. That is part of their homework. They have to just as important as their exercise is that day, they need to go do something that makes them happy. And I let them, you know, whatever that is, that can change. It doesn't have to be, you know, something that's set in stone every week. You know, sometimes we look at that. Sometimes we look at things like incorporating meditation or visualization, affirmations. And sometimes it's just in that coaching conversation where I kind of try to challenge them in a very loving way, but, you know, really encouraging them to, you know, why do you speak this way? Or why, you know, why is that a belief? Why do you think that? Is that serving you? You know, what do you want to create? Who do you want to be? If you tell me that I want to get to this goal weight in 6 months, why? You know, what's that going to do for you? How is that going to enhance your life? What are you hoping to accomplish with that goal? And what else can we do to support you getting there?
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's exactly it. I mean, it is, who do you want to be when you grow up? I often ask that question, often to my patients. I often see patients as an anesthetist who are just about to have their operation, big operations that put a stop to their life. And you've got men, real men, engineers, people with still oil on their hands, and they have been go-getters working, identifying with their work, and suddenly you take that away because their shoulder is buggered.
Mm.
And what do you do? So who do you want to be? And it's that
Yeah.
question that many of us have never actually asked ourselves. And you are allowing your clients to explore that, and maybe explore that before they actually have a major breakdown.
Mhm.
Not just about as they have a major breakdown, depends on when, at which stage you actually get to meet your clients. But it is such an important question. And
It is.
but you're so right. If we look at the amount of trauma that is out there, it's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge. What is it? 1 in 3, 1 in 4 women will have been sexually abused or raped in their lifetime. 1 in 7 men. It is just about our childhood adverse experiences. It's brutal. So many of these things, of course, play in there. Core beliefs that are completely stuffed up. And I think that is something that you are very strong at, to actually explore that and explore the role of these kind of core beliefs and these kind of things that have been happening silently over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years and are still holding you back.
Right.
And that's really where the hard work is, isn't it? I think
It is.
the habits, you can create habits within 30, 40 days, and that is cool. But you can't just delete the trauma. That's just
No. Yeah, we call it going to the inner gym. And so
Right.
it is. It's the hard work, because, yes, exercise can be hard for some people. Yes, making, nutritional changes can be difficult for some, but oftentimes we can do those things in an attempt to hide from ourselves. We can divert our focus to keeping
Nice.
busy or
Nice,
trying
yeah.
to constantly achieve things, because we are too afraid or too uncomfortable to just sit with ourselves. So, sometimes all it takes for someone is just asking that question and giving them a safe space to, finally start exploring that.
Very nice. Very nice. I often think that the spa, a jacuzzi, if you have one at home, that this is a really good place, because typically you can't mess around with your phone. You're actually just sitting there. And if you allow yourself to explore thoughts and just let them come, and if you ask the right questions, your body comes up with the answer. When I say your body, your being, okay, there is a soul, there is however you believe that your mind works, and that there's something bigger than you out there. All that together comes up with answers, and very good answers if you just ask the right questions. So I think that is quite cool. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, damn. So we talked nutrition, really good. We talked about the holistic. Well, how do you create a happiness plan? Well, but I guess trauma comes in layers, like an onion, and healing comes in layers. So there is no quick happiness fix plan. So guys, I'm sorry to say that you need to do a little bit of work, and each of you will be in a different place with different traumas, with different needs that need to be addressed at that time. So there is no easy answer there. Sorry to say. Having said that, please trust me. There are answers there. There are solutions there. You are not alone, and there is hope, and there is help. Please, please, please. If you take away anything from any of my shows, this is the key message. Okay, you're not alone, and there is help. There's hope. I want to come back to the exercise component of living to the fullest. Here you are a pro bodybuilder. So when people come to you, okay, come on, boy, let's throw the weights around. Is that your go-to? Or how do you see exercise as a catalyst? Which forms of exercises would you use?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, I see exercise as a catalyst, like all of the rest of the things that we're talking about, as a vehicle for you to become the best version of yourself so that you can live your best life possible. So for me, especially when working with women, one of the things that I really aspire to help them cultivate when we're looking at exercise is, yes, we want to work toward whatever their goal is. So, somebody who is normal weight and wants to build muscle and maybe put on mass, that might look a little different than someone who wants to lose 30 or 40 pounds. We're still going to do some of the same things, but that goal kind of drives where we start and where we're going to go. But what I love women to feel when they're working with me and or when they start incorporating these things and continue to incorporate them throughout their life is that they are strong. They're strong physically, they're strong mentally, they're strong emotionally. And I think that some of the biggest takeaways that I've had in my life when it comes to exercise or comes to weightlifting or it comes to things like that aren't necessarily, how much can I lift or how ripped can I look? It's about how can I learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because there's nothing comfortable about putting, a barbell on your back with weights on it that feel heavy when you've never done that weight before. Or, there's nothing comfortable about going into those kinds of situations. So how can we learn to be uncomfortable or be comfortable when we're uncomfortable? Also, the body will go where the mind tells it. So how can we train the mind? I'm a huge fan of listening to your body. So it's really a fine line of not pushing past that point when you truly should not be doing that. But how can we learn to cultivate that mental discipline and that strength to understand that we can go, we can make it through things. And that's, for me, has always been a metaphor to life. It's not, if I'm doing an exercise and I know I have 5 more reps and I'm like, oh, I just really want to quit. And I encourage myself and train myself to keep going. That's what's carried me through losing 2 parents. That's what's carried me through being in an abusive relationship as a teenager with someone who ended up committing suicide. That's what's carried me through every single challenge in life, was knowing that I could keep going even when it was tough. Now, there's layers to that as we talk about, trauma and healing that might need to be addressed. But I really want women to understand that they are strong. They're stronger than they think most of the time, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally. But back to the exercise, I am a big fan of resistance training, not necessarily to look like a bodybuilder, but to help women cultivate that strength. But also, so many of us who live sedentary lifestyles, we're not just underactive, but we're also under muscled. So having muscle, you don't have to look like a bodybuilder, but having muscle is going to be beneficial for, glucose regulation. It's going to be beneficial for your metabolism. They say it's the, kind of quote unquote organ of longevity. So, helping women feel strong, helping them build muscle, but also on the flip side of that, I'm a big fan of restorative movement. So walking, yoga, things that are going to help take us out of that sympathetic state, because so many of us are running around like chickens with our heads cut off during the day, and help us bring back that kind of parasympathetic, homeostatic balance. Yeah.
And there is a third component. I love every single word you said. And there is, and for example, to stick with the isometric or with the muscle building and healthy muscle building, let's call it. I'm lacking a good word for it. Basically doing what nature has designed you to do, to actually move, to actually, as where we came from many moons ago, we would have actually walked 15, 20 Ks a day as a man, about 7, 8 Ks as a woman. And that was the hunter-gatherers. That was sort of a normal life. That's what we did for 50,000 generations, something like that. And then there came a change in lifestyle. Then came the Industrial Revolution, and nowadays we have got the first generation or second generation that is basically doing fuck all, and that's really, really a problem, because our bodies are designed to live an active lifestyle. And if we actually bring our patients back, or clients back, however you want to call us, if you want to bring us back into in a better homeostasis, in a better balance within our systems, we need to get back in actually working out these muscles. And guys, don't give me crap. Oh, I'm 60, I'm 70, oh, I'm 75. Do you want me to go to the gym? Yes, I want you to go to the gym. And I say gym because it's there where you can use machines that are specifically exercising one thing, and you're not lifting somehow heavy weights and then I see you for your shoulder operation. No, it is Find the right people who can guide you in the right ways and build up those muscles so that you're again confident. If you're 75 and need a walker because you're so deconditioned, for crying out loud. No, the past does not equal the future. So guys, get out there. Guys, as in humans, go out there and look after yourself. Learn to love your body, and your body is also muscles. So look after those muscles, and then suddenly your risk of falling and maybe breaking your hip bone as an elderly person is much reduced. Your osteoporosis, that your muscles are basically disintegrating with age and hormone changes, is suddenly reduced and changed together with the nutrition. And suddenly you're no longer so sad because you're actually meeting people in during the workout. Hey, she's really cool, and maybe shall we have a coffee? Suddenly you've got the human connection. You know, how beautiful is that? Your heart is getting a workout, so there's oxygen coming to your body. Your gut is saying, "Whoa, what's happening here? We're getting mixed and matched in here. Oh, so cool." So there's life. Oh, it's beautiful. But there is also, I love that you said yoga and other things, um, because there are issues that lie in the tissues. And sometimes just doing a bit of weight exercises and power building might not be enough. Have you experienced that with your clients?
I have, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely. And I've experienced it myself. I go through phases in my life where I'm not incorporating enough restorative movement, enough things to keep me mobile, to keep me, feeling my best. I'm strong and I look, good based on, what we think about when we look at fitness. But it's like, man, like I'm feeling the cracks in my joints and I'm feeling the tightness. And yeah, so I'm a big fan of incorporating that as well. And also when it comes to exercise, if I have a client who really enjoys one particular modality, like every now and then I'll get a client who likes to run or likes to go to Pilates, I try to find ways to incorporate that into their plan too. Now, if it's totally contradictory to their goal, then that might be a question that we have to have either about the goal or about, are you willing to do something different for a little while? But I also think that, when you find something that you do really enjoy, that's important to make sure that it's at least part of what you're doing. Because, kind of the whole point of talking about all of these things is to live a full life, to be happy, to have that joy. And if that thing brings you joy and it's not hurting you in the process, then by all means, yes, let's also include that too.
And I guess I love it. You started initially with saying that the bodybuilding has put you way out of your comfort zone, and that it was so good for you to feel comfortable whilst you were uncomfortable. That's exactly how, for example, good sports teams work. Our All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team, at one stage did ballet lessons. And things like that. So we call it cross training, but also put yourself into a situation that you've never been in, and it can be so healing in its own right. So expanding your horizon of it. Many months ago, I had a beautiful guest who was unfortunately a veteran. I say unfortunately, he met a machine gun the wrong way around, and he was pretty smashed up. And from this powerful go-getter, muscular, he turned into this wreck in his eyes. And it took him 10 years to get his shit together. And then finally, he followed the advice of his mates who tried to come around and sort of said, "Hey, come on, today we try something different. Today we learn golf." And he thought, "Oh, why not?" And he finally left the house and did golf and fuck all. And then another night they said, "Look, tonight we go learn how to be comedians. We do stand-up comedy." He said, "Oh, fuck it, go." Guess what he is nowadays? He's a stand-up
As a comedian. That's awesome.
You never know what happens. You never know.
Right.
So be ready to be uncomfortable, because you might just find the new love of your life. Let that be an activity. Let that be a significant other person. You never know. Oh, Allie, you're an amazing woman. I loved your holistic approach to that. And that is so much what we need. It's only the last 10, 15 years that really in the Western medicine, thing, there is a change towards that. Nowadays, there's the functional medicine
Mhm.
component. I mean, that is, or it's like a discipline. That's just
Mm.
as much as you're a physician or a surgeon. Functional medicine is taking an interest in all those connections and creating them together. That's
Mhm.
exactly where my heart is in functional medicine, where I get excited, where I know you get excited, because we
Yeah.
know this is how we can change lives.
Right.
And
Right.
you are changing lives. You are the catalyst for so many people out there. So if someone wants to get hold of you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I am pretty active on Instagram. My handle is at Health, or you can visit my website, www.alliecasthealth.com. I'd love to talk to you, interact with you, follow along with your journey. And if there's anything I can help you with, please let me know.
Brilliant. Look down there, guys, into the description of the YouTube video and of the podcast. All her info is there. Allie, you're an amazing woman. It would be intriguing to get you back in 12 months, 18 months, because to see where your journey has led you,
Mm-hmm.
the new insights that are there, because every day I'm learning new things. And even now that I'm going, literally that I'm studying the functional medicine, even
Mm-hmm.
3 months ago, and now it's actually a huge shift.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
and it's so amazing, guys. So all of you out there, and might you come along on this journey, when you start taking interest in your body, how it really works, when you put together a power team, being defined as you're the dumbest member of the team. So you have a coach, maybe you have a psychologist, because there might be more things that you need to look at. Maybe you have got your physician, your GP, your family physician, who might wish to look at maybe some of the biological side of things. That's your power team. Put that together, tick things off, and I bet you, after you've put some habits in place, you'll be a very different human. And then 3 months later, again. So can you imagine the growth that is waiting for you guys? I know it, because I've just done that. I'm doing it right now. Allie is doing it. So why not
Amen.
come along? What have you got to lose, guys? Ellie, you're an amazing woman. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. This was lovely. You put all the concepts that I knew about, you put them in mildly different words, which made me think. And I thought, okay. So, so you made me grow today. And for that, I'm
Awesome.
very, very grateful.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to be back sometime soon.
That would be nice, actually, to see where are we going? What have we done
Right.
with our gut microbiome, or whatever we're focusing on?
Yep.
Cool. And you guys out there, look after yourself, love yourself, and live with passion. Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.